Yeah, it's kind of a classroom.
Acoustics are really good. And now that Periscope allows me to landscape, I'm going to go that way. I'm going to go that route. See if I can get my little tripod set up here. So, welcome. My name is Josh Wellborn, and I've been advertising this today. I don't do a lot of Periscope advertising throughout the week. I don't love Periscope as a social network, but I do like it as a utility for sort of a webinar type format. I like it a lot for shared experience. When you're having an experience, I like it a lot for communication and things like that. So today, my title, my job is I'm the Director of Student Ministries for the Assemblies of God in Michigan. It's a cooperative group of about 257 churches, and my role is to network, to resource, to coach, to train, to consult, to serve the children's and youth pastors in the state of Michigan. So if you're one of those, so glad you're here. If you're not one of those, glad you're here either way. And I hope you'll get something valuable out of today. In fact, I think you will. I know you will, because I'm going to share some things that you keep hitting my forehead. If you hit my forehead, I see some hearts flying there. Appreciate those hearts. You can tap on my forehead to create some hearts. You can tap anywhere on the screen. But today, building your dream team. The resources you are going to need, I shouldn't say resources. These are just some tips. This is why I love Periscope, because there's a lot of resources out there. As I'm talking today, as I'm sharing, I love you too, Dad. As I'm sharing today, as we're unpacking some of these concepts, I would love for you to share your resources, to share the books, to share the articles, to share the podcasts, to share the gurus that you've found really helpful in your leadership journey. Again, that's what I love about Periscope. I'm going to do my best to try and respond to the comments and things that come down here. But if I don't respond to yours, what I'm hoping is that that will serve as kind of a chat group as I go along. So that if I can't respond, maybe one of the other leaders that's on here with us can respond. Because frankly, I don't have the best responses, but maybe together we do. That's why I always put the hashtag We Are Better Together, because we all bring something to the table. If you've joined us for some of the previous Periscopes, some of the previous scopes that we've done, we've actually talked about this concept of being better together. We are better together because there is a genius that you bring to the table that no one else has. There's also a weakness that you bring to the table that's going to be filled by someone else's genius. So the thing that comes natural to you that you're so good at, that your wife or the people on your team tell you you're good at, it looks good and sounds good? Good. I needed that feedback. I'm in the media room at what has become my Lansing headquarters. This is just one of the empty spaces that they've let me use over at Mount Hope Church in Lansing. So I really, really appreciate them letting me use this. This is their media room at their healing center. So that's why there's a big TV behind me. I really believe we're better together. I really believe that, again, that there's a genius that you have that someone else needs to tap into, that I need to tap into. I believe that doing favors for people, helping other people out, it's a pleasure when there's relationship. We've got all kinds of biblical mandates to help each other. Galatians chapter 6 tells us that we should do good to everyone, especially those in the body of Christ. Ecclesiastes tells us to fight back to back, and that a cord of three strands is not easily broken. So there's some ideas, there's some concepts there. We started with networking. With these scopes, because networking is it's the wheelhouse that I operate in. It's the thing I understand. It's the thing that I love most about our cooperative group, our tribe, the Assemblies of God. It's the thing I like most about it. I enjoy getting together. I enjoy building relationship. I enjoy connecting. Honestly, for no other reason than just connecting. But what you find is that once you connect, you find all kinds of ways to serve each other. Last time we did the 7 deadly sins of networking. I've posted all of the previous scopes on my YouTube page. So if there's stuff that you want to tap into, if there's a topic that you're interested in listening to the talk or the teaching about, or if you just want to get the notes, that's all available on my YouTube page. My username is Josh Wellborn, JoshWellborn. So we started with networking. I've kind of broken this down into a bit of a, we might be getting into the area of science here. Let me just show you my outline, because I realize there's some of you today, you just want the carry-on luggage. You just want the simple bag. You just want to get your backpack and go. So I'm just going to give you my outline right now. And then for those who are going to join us for the entire flight, we're going to unpack some luggage. We're going to unpack these pieces today. So let me just show you the outline just briefly. And again, those of you who only have a few minutes to give today, I want you to be able to get something valuable today. And put those cookies on the bottom shelf, yeah, where you can reach them. That's right. I love the analogies. So, Scott Third North, nice. I don't know who that is. Django in Texas, somebody from my evangel days. So, if you look right here, this is what we're going to be talking about today. But this is kind of the outline that I really feel like is the way to go for those of you that are maybe new to ministry. Those of you that are looking to sort of retool your ministry, maybe those of you that you're an expert at it, you're good at what you do, but you're just looking for a fresh way to kind of unpack some of this, or maybe to reload in your own youth ministry. I just saw a camera icon coming up. Are you guys screen capturing this? Is that what that means? I didn't even know you could do that on Periscope. Well, that's pretty cool. So we started with networking. Here, I could even use my mouse. We started with networking because that's what I knew about. But what I've realized is that if you're going to build a team, I don't know if that's going to stay focused for very long, but if you're going to build a team, you've got to network first. People are going to want to be on your team because you have a relationship with them. People are going to want to be on your team because you've added value to what they do. You've served them. You've shown them you're not a schmoozer. You're not just a used car salesman wanting to make the deal and then move on. Nothing against used car salesmen. I'm talking about the stereotypical ones, not the good ones that I buy cars from. I always buy used cars, by the way. And then after you've networked, then you can really start building your dream team. And then after the team building, I think that's when you can really get into the engineering of your youth ministry, how it's going to work, what it's going to look like. And I've listed some things there, what your order of service is going to look like, how you're going to treat your VIPs, your guests. And then really the whole purpose of all of this is discipleship. So then you can start asking yourself, what does our discipleship look like? And then, of course, and then it comes full circle to evangelism, that's when you really become a disciple. When you complete, that was really Jesus's final step in becoming a disciple, is to go out and do evangelism. And I say full circle because that's when networking begins all over again, and you start adding people back to your team. So today, when building a team, you've built your network, you've built relationships, you've added value to people, maybe in your church, maybe in your community, whatever. And then you're going to start by being sold out. I forget I've got this little arrow here. You're going to be sold out. I'll talk about what that means. You're going to make relationship a premium because it doesn't automatically happen. You have to be intentional about that. Then you're going to paint a picture, which really speaks to vision casting. And then you're going to embrace the moments. Now, these are just 4 in building your team. And as we go, I would love for you to add your tips on building a team, because you've got really, really good stuff to say. I love everything that I've seen in these scopes that we've been doing. So that's the quick 1-2 on it. I'd love for you to stick around and join us for the rest of our conversation today. So let's move forward. Let's talk about where should we begin? Well, I got a great quote here today. My wife actually shared this one with me. I've heard this quote before. I don't know who it's from. You may have seen it. You probably saw it on the screen just now because I had it on there for kind of a long time. If your dream can be accomplished without a team, your dream isn't big enough. So those of you you're kind of the Lone Ranger, you're the one doing all the work, you're the one, first of all, that's stressful. You can do more when you've got a team. And if your vision is to just do things alone, then your vision's not big enough. If you're a student of the scriptures, if you read the Bible, which I hope you do, you find that we're meant to do things together. The idea of family, the idea of a team, the idea of church, the idea of disciples, loving each other, sharing each other's life experiences. I read that verse from Galatians earlier that says, do good to like everyone, but especially those within the body of Christ. So again, if your dream can be accomplished without a team, it's not big enough. I don't know where that quote comes from. It's probably John Maxwell, because those are the ones that get, nobody remembers who said them anymore because everybody read those books years ago. So let's talk about building a team. It can be challenging. Delegation is the way to go, but delegation intimidates a lot of people because it is sometimes easier to do it yourself But if you can start delegating things to members of your team, people that you trust, people that you've networked with, you've built relationship with, meaningful networking and meaningful relationship, sincere relationship, you can start handing some of those things off to other people. I know one thing I've seen in churches a lot of times is that people will just utilize their family members. They'll ask their family members to work hard to stay up till 3 in the morning to accomplish the whatever the vision is, but they won't tap into the people that God has put in their network, in their relationship circle. And then as I was preparing for this, I actually read today Proverbs chapter 27:10, which says, "Do not forsake your friend or a friend of your family. Do not go to your relative's house when disaster strikes you. Better a neighbor nearby than a relative far away." You've got to cultivate those relationships. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to go to a neighbor because in America we don't know our neighbors anymore because we like to pull into the garage and go straight into the house and not connect with them. Sure, we wave, but it's difficult to spend time with people. It's hard to reach out. It's hard to build relationship. You have to work on it. It's something that you have to be intentional about. And Scripture is just telling us it's better to cultivate and have valuable relationships nearby than to just rely on those who can't tell you no. Who are far away. Let's talk about being sold out. So that's number one today, being sold out. I think you have to love where you are. I think you have to believe in where you are. If you're an associate pastor, children's or youth, you need to love your senior pastor, your lead guy. You need to love his vision. You need to be sold out to it. You have to choose to do this. Now you might look at the big church on the other side of the state, or the hipster church that maybe is small and a part of the community that you wish you lived in, or you might look at your buddy's lead pastor who's got tattoos and wears jeans on stage or whatever. But you've got to learn to love where you are. I love that Jeannie Mayo says, "Bloom where you're planted." And I think that speaks to not just figuring out how to do well in your environment, but choosing how to see what will grow well in your existing environment. So wherever you are, you've got to figure out what works well there, what's unique and special about where you are, what can be cultivated in your environment that maybe can't be cultivated anywhere else. And then you got to do it. And that starts with being sold out, believing that you're called, trusting that you're called, choosing, in many cases, choosing to believe. Do you understand the difference between just believing something and choosing to believe something? See, a lot of times we talk about our calling as though it's God's sovereign will, and then when something bad happens, we wonder if it's still God's sovereign will. Well, the reality is that so many times God's sovereign will is secret, but our choice will, the choices that we make to walk in God's will, the decisions that He leaves to us, we have to believe, we have to have that same commitment even when it's a choice. So choose to be sold out. Choose to love where you are. Give it your heart. Bloom where you're planted. You got to start with that. Because if you're not sold out, your team won't be sold out. If it's just a job for you, they'll smell that. They'll detect that. You won't attract strong leaders to your team. I love the quote. I'll paraphrase it. I'm not going to get the quote right. But I love the quote that says you'll never attract a leader that has a higher quotient than your own. So if you're out of 10, if you're a 7 as a leader, you're never going to attract an 8 or a 9. In fact, you're probably not even going to attract 7s, but you'll attract 6s and 5s. So raise your own leadership quotient. I said that was a quote. That's not really a quotable at all. I'm sorry. But I think you get the idea. So be sold out. And if you're not sold out, get sold out. Make it something that you can be sold out to. And if that's not going to happen, go somewhere where you can be sold out. Now, don't misunderstand. Because I've been meeting with youth pastors a lot lately, I know that particularly the young guys, they're ready to give up and move on because it's not what they thought it would be. Listen, I've been that guy. I was that guy. And you have to decide that you're going to be in it for the long haul. You're going to be a big picture thinker. Being sold out means figuring out what's beautiful and unique about your current situation and then focusing on that. Because all situations are going to have crummy stuff that you don't like focusing on. You know, I've served at small churches and big churches, and I always thought, man, if I was at a big church, then I wouldn't. If I was a mega church, then I wouldn't, then all these other things wouldn't bother me. Well, guess what? There's a whole list of other things that are going to bother you when you go to a different place. So I've served at some really cool churches, big and small. Thankfully, I've served at all healthy churches. Now, see, when you're somewhere that's not healthy, then that's when I think you really ask the question, man, is there somewhere else God wants me to be? Or am I part of the solution here? So that's something you have to wrestle with in prayer. Let's talk about making relationship a premium. You have to be intentional. This is number 2. You have to be intentional about making relationship a premium. It's not just going to happen. Making relationship a premium means sometimes letting things slide. Jeff Westheim's got a great quote there. God asks Moses, what is in your hand? Yeah, that'll preach right there. I think I've heard that sermon before. I think I may have preached that sermon. That's good, Jeff. I love it. I remember my first job out of high school, and it was at a radio station, and the manager was having the place painted, and the painter just hosed the owner of this radio station. I don't remember what all the circumstances were, but I remember hearing him on the phone. And it was a Christian radio station. And it was the type of deal where the painter had done a deal because he was a believer and he wanted to be a blessing to the Christian radio station. But through one way or another, he just hosed the owner, took some things that didn't belong to him, demanded payment that maybe wasn't agreed upon up front. And I just remember listening to the owner of that radio station, my boss. I remember hearing him on the phone, and I even remember the guy's name. It was Bruce. And I remember him saying, Bruce, I'm not so much concerned about the money anymore, but what I'm really concerned about is the relationship. You and I are both believers. We're going to have to spend eternity together, and I'm concerned that this little interaction is going to damage our relationship. So let's figure that one out first. I was 19 years old when I heard that. That was in my wheelhouse. I was raised to think that way, so I really latched onto it. I've always remembered it. But relationship has to be a premium. What are you going to do when one of your leaders hoses you? What are you going to do when one of the members of your team, and I'm going to talk, those of you that don't have a team right now, I'm going to talk to you next, but you have to decide in advance what you're going to do when one of your leaders, one of your team does something to you that's unfair. You know, not everybody's called to be a leader. I listened to a message recently, and this is on Stephen Furtick's Elevation podcast. It's called the cost of a high calling. And that's one of the costs of a high calling, is that you have to take the high road by making relationship a premium. So when the circumstances are not working out the way you want them to, the hidden cost of a high calling. Thanks, Tom. Yeah, so it's called the hidden cost of a high calling. You have to take time. Scotty Gibbons always says, ministry flows through relationship, and relationship takes time. There's a great quote there. Oh, it faded. Yeah, I'll have to watch. I know some of you caught that. You'll have to post that one again here in a minute. The way you make relationship a premium, you do it with sincerity. You give. You appreciate. You make relationships come first. You are there for them. If you're there for your leadership team, they will be there for you. I don't know what I'm supposed to say again, Jeff. Tell me he said, say that again. I don't know which part, but I will say that again. If you'll tell me which one it is. Be there for them, and they will be there for you. If they believe you really care, there is nothing they won't do for you. Okay, so the Scotty quote, I didn't say it right, did I? Ministry flows through relationships, and relationships take time. That was the Scotty quote, Scotty Gibbons. Ministry flows through relationships, and relationships take time. That might be another one that he got from somewhere else too. I always like to cite my sources, but no plagiarism intended here today. Be there for them; they'll be there for you. If your leaders believe that you really care, there's nothing they won't do for you. It takes a while to build that. And then, like I said at the beginning, doing a favor is a pleasure when there's relationship. Treat your leaders like they're VIPs and give them a backstage pass. Now, I said I wanted to talk to those of you who are like, I don't have a leadership team, Pastor Josh. I'm kind of stuck. You know what? Here's what I would say first. Go to my YouTube page and watch the teaching on why you should develop a network. And then the next one is the deadly sins of networking. You don't even have to watch them. You can just grab the notes. You can probably get the idea from watching the notes. If you don't have a leadership team, you've got to start with building relationship first. Don't just go out to recruit a team, because you're going to have a list of all the team members that you need. You know, as a new youth pastor, I needed a worship leader. You know, so it was like, okay, how do I do this? Well, I ended up finding a worship leader in someone that I built a friendship with. I didn't even know he'd led worship. or he knew how to sing, knew how to lead. In fact, he didn't lead worship, but he did know how to sing, and he did know how to play guitar. And the first time that he led, he said, I've never sang in public, I've only sang in my bedroom. So it came out of relationship. There are things you need. You need a sound guy. Everybody wants a video guy. Everybody wants a social networking guy. Everybody wants a website guy. You've got to start with relationship, and through that you will be able to build your dream team. So if you're doing things all alone, you've got nobody on your team, nobody on your side, man, just pray for one. Say, God, give me one friend that will do this with me. Well, what if they don't have the skill set that I need? You don't need a skill set. You need a friend. You don't need a web guy. You need somebody that's gonna stand with you in prayer to believe for building a dream team. So don't go the route of filling the positions. Don't go the route of building the relationship based on the positions you need. Go the route of filling the positions by what God is giving you in the relationships that you have. There's a great quotable in there. I just stumbled over it, and I didn't say it, but it's there somewhere. Tom Roosh will probably button that one up for me. People don't like to be recruited for the tasks like a commodity. Totally. Yeah. If you do that, if you're just recruiting people for the tasks, you're really just a consumer leader. You're not adding value. You need to add value. Proverbs 27:23 says this, and this speaks to caring for your leaders. It says, know the condition of your flocks, give careful attention to your herds. Man, how many times as a youth pastor has a leader left my team, and when I asked why, there were a bunch of reasons that I had no idea about. I don't know. See, sometimes I don't take things personally, maybe when I should. But there's been many times that a leader has left my team because they're exhausted or burnt out, and I had no idea because I wasn't caring for their personal. I wasn't taking care of them personally. I was just letting them fill a position on my team. And man, I always regret that. Always regret that. Now, yeah, there's always going to be leaders that are moving on because they got married, because they got a new job, because they move away, because they're moving on to another position in the church. I mean, frankly, youth ministry for leaders, it tends to be kind of transient. There are people that will do it for a season, and then there's the lifers. And does that mean you only recruit lifers? No, I think there's people that God will send to you for a season. They'll be there for a while, and then they'll move on to something else. You see, the reality is we're all called to make disciples, and youth ministry is a great place to exercise those discipleship-making muscles, because even as a young adult, a great place to make disciples is with teenagers. I'm going to read some of these here. The only thing worse than an empty position is a position filled with the wrong person. That's good stuff, Jason. I've had more leaders leave because they didn't feel connected to the team, rarely because I asked them to. Yeah, that's the truth. Yeah, we've all had it. We've all had people leave our teams. And the goal would be to have a team that people can't leave because they're so connected to you, they're so connected to the vision. Which is the next point. Number 3, create a vision, paint a picture. I love the quote from the book Visioneering by Andy Stanley. It says, your vision should be, you establish your vision by thinking about what could be, what should be, what can be, and what must be. I'll say it one more time. What could be, what should be, what can be, and then you allow it to become what must be. When you can answer those questions, then you've got a vision. Because a lot of people have a hard time with vision. More than one youth pastor has said to me, man, I don't know what my vision is. I just want to hang out and have fun with teenagers. That's not a bad place to start, to be honest with you. Youth pastors get a bad reputation for that being their only motivator. It's a pretty good place to start. You just need to ask those questions. You know, what could be? What should be? What can be? What must be? And you go there. If you answer that question for your team, paint a picture. Paint a picture of what it looks like to go the place that God has led you to go, or to go the place He's telling you to go. I got to get better at this. Answer the question, what must be, paint a picture of what that looks like, and then constantly give it to your team. The last one I have today is embrace the moments. The moments happen during prayer. Thanks, Jason. The moments happen in the altar. The moments happen in the middle of the night when you're on a road trip. The moments happen when someone dies. The moments happen when something special is taking place and you're embracing it there with them. I mentioned someone dying. You know, even recently, a former student asked me to come because his father was at his deathbed. And those are horrible, horrible moments, and it's difficult to know what to say, and it's difficult to know what to do. But the thing that has made that so much easier for me was when I heard Matt Chandler down in Texas. He mentioned he used a phrase called the ministry of presence. When someone's going through a hard time, sometimes just the ministry of presence, just being there, can be so much. So those moments are created. If you embrace those moments, you will add to the value of your team. Now, I want to say something else to those of you who don't have a team. I know earlier I said go back and watch the networking video on my YouTube channel. I think there's some good stuff in there for you. Again, even if you just look at the notes. Again, start with one and then go from there. Build relationship and then go from there. Well, I've talked much longer than I said I would talk. I told Matt Ray that I was only going to go 15 minutes today. It's been 25 minutes. But that's what I got today. I'm going to post this on YouTube for those who want to look at it later. I'm going to put my notes on there too. If you're a youth leader or a children's worker and you're not connected to our Facebook groups, please message me. Oh man, just knocked my tripod over. Please message me and I'll get you connected to those. Were those hearts for the tipped over tripod? Thanks. Message me, I'll get you connected to those groups, and then you can be in the know. Lansing earthquake, yeah. So that's all I got today. Hey, also, please feel free to message me stuff you'd like to hear about, stuff you'd like to talk about, and we'll be better together. I'm getting ready for youth convention. That's my big thing on my radar right now. It's my first one as district youth director. I'm excited about that. It has been curveball after curveball after curveball. We had to change the location. We had to change production teams, not for bad reasons, just because people were like, hey, my season's done. Things like that. So, hey, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. And I don't really have a formal ending to this, but that's all. Well born out.